Hi everyone and welcome to my first ever weekly wrap up. Today I want to talk to you about 9 books of which I have finished since, I think they're all from the very beginning of August actually. Basically from around Booktubeathon time onwards. The first book I want to talk to you about is a graphic novel. It comes out in early October and it's called The Dreadful Fate of Jonathan Yorke and it's by Corey Merritt. I picked this one up off NetGalley because I just fancied a graphic novel and I actually loved it. It's about a guy called Jonathan and he is stuck in a forest, a really mystical forest, just as nighttime is sort of falling upon the place. And he finds himself scared and he's worried about all these sort of sounds he can hear in the forest, and then these strangers come up to him and he's very suspicious of these strangers, but he decides to go along with them anyway. They tell him that he needs to get out of the forest before it's totally dark and that he should go with them because they know a safe place to kind of stay for the night. So they all go to this safe house, but to get a room for the night they have to tell a story, and Jonathan can't think of a story to tell, and so he gets thrown back out into the forest. And the rest of the graphic novel is just him trying to survive the night basically. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. I thought it was fantastic and I gave it 5 stars. The next book I want to talk to you about is Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. Now I know this book's had so much hype on BookTube, it's become quite a sort of love it or hate it kind of book, and I was very much in the middle. I felt disappointed by it, if anything. I gave it 3.5 stars, so I mean it wasn't a bad book. It just didn't do anything for me. The character development was average. I felt like everyone just needed fleshing out a bit more. The storyline was just meh. There was nothing special about it. There was nothing to grip me. There was nothing that made me want to keep reading. I think my main gripe with this one is it's just overhyped. It definitely didn't deserve all the hype it was getting. It's worth picking up, but I wouldn't rush out and go and get it and be all like, ooh, I must read it. No. The next book I want to talk to you about is Awake by Natasha Preston. Now again, I got this one off NetGalley and I actually picked this one up because I noticed that on Goodreads it had got absolutely awful ratings. I'm sure it's at something like 2.9 average right now. And when a book's that low, it makes me want to pick it up because I'm curious as to how it can be that bad, or whether everyone's just losing the plot with it. And I feel like with this one, I understand why it got lots of low ratings because a lot of people never even actually finished it. The problem with this book is you need to make it past the first 10%, as it's just full of insta-love. You're probably wondering why I'm telling you to actually pick up a book if it's just insta-love crazy. You're like, oh, why would you read it? Because this book is amazing. The insta-love is such a minor part and it's necessary. I can't tell you why it's necessary because I don't want to give you any spoilers, but it fits in so well with how the rest of the plot develops, and I thought that I was amazed. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I really don't think that this is a book where I should actually tell you anything about the plot because you should go into it blind. Please go into it blind. I went into it relatively blind and I was so happy that I did. Like I said, get back past that first 10% and you'll just start enjoying it so much more and you'll be like, and maybe you too will give it 4 stars like me. To give you a couple of little clues though, it's from dual perspectives, so you get a little bit of insight into what's going on from both sides of things, and it features a cult. Interested? I was. Go check it out. The next book I want to talk to you about is The Vault by Karen Long, and I gave this book 4.5 stars out of 5, and I got this one from NetGalley as well. This one is a mystery thriller, and I've got to say this book wins the prize from me. The first book to make me almost throw up. I can't tell you why I almost threw up because it would create a bit of a spoiler problem. But trust me when I say I lay there, I read a certain bit and I could feel the vomit rising. I was like, oh my goodness. Never has a book been able to have that sort of effect on me. She was a fantastic author. The descriptions of the disgusting things that happen in this book were just, I don't even have words for how disgusting they were. This book covers a serial killer who kidnaps women, and he slowly tortures them, eventually kills them, and then embalms them so that he can have this sort of permanent embalmed figure in his house as his wife. Each time one starts rotting, he just disposes of them, whether he buries them or dumps them off elsewhere, and then gets another one and starts the process all over again, which is horrific enough as it is. It's also described really thoroughly in this book, but then he moves on from just wanting a wife and starts getting other people too, and it's just... And it's scary how he fits into normal society, and this book just creeped me out. It made me feel sick. It evoked so many strong emotions in me that, quite frankly, if it hadn't have been so slow in the beginning, it would have got 5 stars from me, but it was just a little bit too slow. I highly recommend you check it out though, unless you can't handle the gruesomeness of it, which if you can't, then you really shouldn't check it out, because you won't be able to read it if you can't handle the gruesomeness. So then, the next book I want to talk to you about is Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. I gave this book 4 stars, and I also got this one from NetGalley, and it comes out sometime in September, around about the 19th I think, I can't remember the exact date. This is another one that's been getting so much hype here on BookTube, so much hype, and I can understand the hype for this one actually. I gave it 4 stars out of 5, I thought it was good. At first, I enjoyed the initial sort of premise of it all. I thought it was a really interesting thing to read about, a girl who was allergic to everything and just had to live in her house all the time. It was interesting to see how someone would live in that sort of atmosphere, how they would cope being trapped in the house all the time, how they would fill their days, all that kind of stuff. I thought that was fascinating. Then the second half of the novel just goes a bit downhill for me, and there's a massive twist further on which I saw coming a mile off, and I mean a mile off, and that sort of ruined it all for me really, because this massive twist just didn't fit for me. I didn't want that, and it made me just sort of lose my love for the book really. So the first half was easily a 5 stars, the second half, if I was going to rate the second half all on its own, I'd struggle to give it 3 stars. So overall, I just went for the 4 stars, and yeah. I know a lot of people have been really loving this book, so I definitely recommend you check it out. I mean, like I said, I gave it 4 stars, but I don't understand the ridiculous, oh my god, 5-star hype for this one. Sorry. Then the next book I want to talk to you about is You by Caroline Kepnes. Another really hyped book, but this one disturbs, well it does disturb, but it also deserves all the hype. It disturbed me, to stick with that disturbed word. I first heard about this book from Lindsay over at Lindsay Ray, and she loved it, and straight away I thought, I've got to check that out. So I picked up a copy, and eventually got around to reading it, and I was like, oh my god, I wish I'd read this sooner. It creeped the crap out of me though. I mean, like, oh my. Think that there's people out there like this. There must be people out there like this that are going around killing people, acting like they're normal when they're really deranged and messed up in their head, stalking people. I think that's the scariest thing about this one. This could be happening to anyone. Any of us could know a guy like Joe, and it's so creepy to think that. My boss could be another Joe. My boyfriend could be another Joe. I highly doubt it. I know him very well now, but you never know. And it's just so scary. I highly recommend this book. You must check it out. Then we've got Lumiere by Jacqueline Garlick. I gave this one 3 stars, and I also got this one off NetGalley. I enjoyed it, but it was nothing special, is what I want to say about this one really. It's sort of a sci-fi, fantasy, steampunk-esque kind of thing, and it was quite intriguing. I loved the world. I thought the world was really interesting. I thought there were some really interesting characters there, and the plot was okay, just it didn't grip me. And I think that was the main problem with it. It is part of a series, so I'll be picking up the next book to sort of see where things go from there. I am intrigued enough, and I found some of the characters so interesting. As I said, I felt like there was something missing, and I can't work out what that missing thing was. You know, when you're not clicking with a book, maybe it's my reading mood at the time. you never know, but I just didn't click properly enough with the book, and so therefore 3 stars. Then this morning I read Bitter of Tongue by Cassandra Clare and Sarah Rees Brennan, and this is the 7th book in the Shadowhunter Academy series, which follows on from the Mortal Instrument series. And I really can't tell you anything about this book at all. It would spoil so much for you. If you've read this book, or if you're planning on reading this book, be prepared. It's quite a sort of heartbreaker one. I think I'm a little bit sort of cold-hearted, and it takes a lot to make me cry in a book, so I didn't cry, but I looked over some reviews this morning and noticed that some people have cried, so just keep some potential tissues at the ready. Oh, and I give this 4 stars. The final book I want to talk to you about is another one that I read pretty much just before I filmed this video, actually, and it's called Theyre Not Like AWS, and it's by Eric Stevenson, and it's another graphic novel, and I got it off NetGalley. I just fancied something short and sort of relatively easy to read, because I've been in quite a reading slump recently, so I've just gone a bit of a quick short books and NetGalley binge. I gave this one 5 stars. It was quite, you know, when you pick up a book and you go into it with literally no expectations, because obviously I just picked this one up randomly because I wanted something short, so I'd got no expectations at all, and the cover didn't really sort of give much away. I'd not really looked at the sort of the whole premise of it really very much, and so I just sat there and I picked it up, and I was like, because the first 10 and 20 pages you literally sat there like, what on earth is this? The art style's kind of like quite harsh. There's sort of lots of black used for lines, and the colours aren't really all that in your face. It's kind of just basic colouring, and I don't normally like it like that, but I thought, you know what, I'm gonna stick through this. I'm just gonna keep going. There's something interesting going on here, and I was really pleasantly surprised. So you start off, and there's this young girl who wants to kill herself because she is different. She knows she's different, but her family have always told her that she's sick. Doctors have told her she's sick. Teachers have told her she's sick, and that she's got issues and that kind of thing. And so she decides she wants to kill herself, but she fails, and she winds up in hospital, where she then gets kidnapped by a sort of group, if you like. And these group of people, they are all different too. They've all got their sort of special sort of powers, if you like. I can't remember any off the top of my head. That's probably a slight bad sign, but I can't remember any right now. But the main guy is called The Voice, and they all have sort of nicknames that don't relate to their past lives before they join this group. And so they call this girl Sid, and they make her sort of decide that she needs to leave her old life totally behind, start afresh, and then drop the bombshell of A, she has to take on this new name Sid, but B, she has to kill her parents. At this point I'm literally sort of like, what have I picked up here? And it sort of all moves on from there, and you've got a few violent scenes throughout the novel, and a few sort of dark topics come up. Attempted suicide, that kind of thing, and it was all just a bit like, whoa. And I felt like there were some strong messages in there about how everyone's got some good and some bad in them, and I ended up by the end of it thinking, this was fantastic. I'm so glad I picked this up. And so yeah, 5 stars. Highly recommend it. I think it's already out. Yeah, this one's already out. And that's all the books I have to talk to you about this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done already. Drop me a comment down below with any books that you've read recently, if you've read any of these, or if I've made you want to read any of these. If you want to know anything more about these books, I'll have reviews to all of them on my blog, so I'll leave a link to my blog down below, along with my Twitter and my Goodreads. So I'll see you next week. Bye bye!